Module 2. Negotiators and Characteristics of Negotiations. Successful negotiators can find mutually beneficial solutions that meet the needs of all parties involved. Integrative negotiation is a type of negotiation that seeks to create value for all parties involved by identifying and exploiting opportunities for mutual gain. The following are the characteristics of a successful integrative negotiator. Creativity. A successful integrative negotiator is creative and able to think outside the box. They can identify and propose innovative solutions mutually beneficial to all parties involved. Strong communication skills. A successful integrative negotiator must have strong communication skills. They must clearly articulate their position and interests, listen actively to the other party, and effectively convey their proposals and solutions. Empathy. Empathy is an essential characteristic of a successful integrative negotiator. They must be able to understand and appreciate the perspectives and interests of the other party. This enables them to identify areas of agreement and propose solutions that meet the needs of all parties' needs. Patience. Negotiations can be time-consuming and challenging. Successful negotiators understand that negotiations take time and are patient in their approach. They are willing to take the time to build relationships, explore options, and find mutually beneficial solutions. Flexibility. Successful integrative negotiators are flexible and adaptable. They are willing to adjust their approach and proposals as they learn more about the other party's interests and priorities. Strong analytical skills. Successful integrative negotiators have strong analytical skills. They can gather and analyze data, identify patterns, and use this information to develop proposals and solutions that meet the needs of all parties involved. Collaboration. Collaboration is an essential characteristic of a successful integrative negotiator. They must work effectively with the other party, build relationships, and develop trust. They understand that negotiation is not a zero-sum game and that both parties can benefit from a collaborative approach. Goal-oriented. Successful integrative negotiators are goal-oriented. They clearly understand their interests and objectives and those of the other party. They focus on finding solutions that meet these objectives and create value for all parties involved. Ethical. Ethical behavior is an essential characteristic of a successful integrative negotiator. They understand the importance of maintaining the integrity and are committed to conducting negotiations fairly and transparently. Strong interpersonal skills. Successful integrative negotiators have strong interpersonal skills. They can build rapport, establish trust, and develop relationships with the other party. They understand the importance of treating the other party with respect and dignity. Integrative negotiation. An integrative negotiation is a collaborative approach to negotiation that seeks to create value for all parties involved. It requires a different mindset than traditional adversarial negotiation tactics, which focus on winning at all costs. In order for integrative negotiation to succeed, several key factors are necessary. First, both sides must be willing to engage in a collaborative negotiation process. This means that both parties must be open to discussing their interests and priorities and be willing to work together to find solutions that meet the needs of all parties involved. This willingness to collaborate is essential for creating an atmosphere of trust and respect between the parties. Second, effective communication is necessary for integrative negotiation to succeed. Both parties must communicate clearly and effectively and actively listen to one another. This means being open to feedback and not simply pushing one's agenda. Communication should be respectful, transparent, and focused on creating a positive outcome for all parties involved. Third, creativity and flexibility are essential for successful integrative negotiation. Both parties must be open to exploring various options and be willing to think creatively about potential solutions. They must also be flexible enough to adjust their expectations as the negotiation process unfolds and new information is revealed. Fourth, integrative negotiation requires a focus on interests rather than positions, and this means both parties must be willing to explore the underlying motivations and priorities that drive their positions. By understanding each other's interests, parties can find common ground and create solutions that meet the needs of all parties involved. Finally, integrative negotiation requires a commitment to fairness and equity, and both parties must be willing to work toward an equitable and fair solution for all parties involved. This means that compromises may be necessary, but the result should be one that all parties can agree upon. Reasons negotiations fail. Negotiations can fail for many reasons. Here are some common reasons why negotiations fail. Lack of preparation. Negotiations can only succeed if both parties are adequately prepared. This can include not understanding the other party's needs or interests, not knowing the market value of the item or service being negotiated, or needing a clear strategy for achieving the desired outcome. Inflexibility. If one or both parties are inflexible and unwilling to consider alternatives or compromises, negotiations can quickly break down. Negotiation involves finding a mutually beneficial solution, requiring both parties to be open to new ideas. Poor communication. Communication is essential for successful negotiation. If one or both parties communicate effectively, misunderstandings can arise, leading to trust and a breakdown in the negotiation process. Emotional reactions. Negotiations can sometimes become emotional, clouding judgment and derailing the process. Reaching a mutually beneficial agreement can be challenging if one or both parties become angry, defensive, or emotional. Power imbalances. Negotiations can only succeed if one party holds significantly more power. If one party feels they are being taken advantage of or their interests are not being considered, they may leave the negotiation. Incompatible goals. Negotiations can only succeed if the parties' goals and interests are fundamentally compatible. If there is no way to find common ground or compromise, it may be impossible to reach an agreement. Time pressure. Negotiations can only succeed if a tight deadline or time pressure prevents the parties from fully exploring all options or finding creative solutions. Lack of trust. Negotiations require a degree of trust between the parties. One party may be reluctant to make concessions or compromises if one party does not trust the other. Bargaining protocol. Bargaining protocol refers to the rules or guidelines governing the negotiation process. A clear and well-defined bargaining protocol can help ensure that negotiations proceed smoothly and fairly and can increase the likelihood of a successful outcome. A critical aspect of bargaining protocol is the establishment of ground rules. Ground rules can include things like the negotiation's time and location, the speaker's order, and guidelines for communication and behavior. Establishing clear ground rules at the beginning of the negotiation can help to set expectations and prevent misunderstandings. Another vital aspect of bargaining protocol is the use of language and tone. Negotiators should communicate clearly and respectfully, using language free from ambiguity or hidden meanings. The tone is also essential. Negotiators should avoid becoming defensive or aggressive, as this can quickly derail the negotiation process. Negotiators should also be familiar with the bargaining process itself. This includes understanding the different stages of the negotiation process, such as opening offers, counteroffers, and concessions. It is also essential to be familiar with the various bargaining techniques that can be used, such as creating value, anchoring, and bridging. Finally, negotiators should be prepared to handle disagreements or impasses that may arise during the negotiation process. This may involve taking a break to regroup, bringing in a mediator or third-party neutral, or simply agreeing to disagree and moving on to other issues. Integrative agreements. Achieving integrative agreements in negotiation involves finding mutually beneficial solutions that meet the interests and needs of both parties. To achieve this, negotiators must engage in collaborative problem-solving, exploring various options and alternatives to identify creative solutions that address the concerns of both parties. This involves actively listening to the other party, seeking to understand their interests and priorities, and working together to find common ground. Negotiators must also be willing to make concessions and be open to new ideas and perspectives. By focusing on interests rather than positions, negotiators can find innovative solutions that create value for both parties and lead to long-term success. Stating the problem. Stating the problem with an eye toward practicality and comprehensiveness in negotiation is essential to ensure that all relevant issues and interests are addressed in the negotiation process. This involves clearly defining the problem in a specific, actionable way and focusing on underlying interests rather than positions. Negotiators must also consider the practicality of potential solutions, considering feasibility, cost, and potential risks. By approaching the problem comprehensively and practically, negotiators can identify solutions that address the underlying interests of all parties and lead to successful outcomes. Goal achievement. In negotiations, it is essential to communicate our goals and objectives to the other party. However, when our goals are more concrete and measurable, it can be easier to convey our intentions effectively. This is because such goals need to be more precise, more transparent, or open to interpretation, which can lead to misunderstandings and conflicts. In such situations, it is essential to use clear and concise language, provide specific examples and details, and be open to feedback and dialogue. By focusing on clear and effective communication, negotiators can ensure that their less concrete goals are understood and addressed in the negotiation process. Difference between strategy and tactics. Strategy and tactics are two critical concepts in negotiations. Strategy refers to the overall plan or approach used to achieve a desired outcome, while tactics refer to the specific actions taken to implement that plan. Strategy is focused on long-term goals and objectives, while tactics are more concerned with the short-term actions needed to achieve those goals. In negotiations, having a clear strategy is essential to ensure that all decisions and actions are aligned with the overall goals of the negotiation. Meanwhile, effective tactics can help achieve those goals more efficiently and effectively. Avoidance. Avoidance is a strategy in negotiation that involves refusing to engage or discuss specific issues. While avoidance is often seen as a negative negotiation tactic, there are some strategic purposes that it can serve. Gathering information. Avoiding discussion can give a negotiator time to gather more information, such as the other party's priorities and interests. Controlling emotions. Avoiding a discussion can help to control negative emotions that disrupt the negotiation process. Managing risk. Avoidance can be a way to manage risk in a negotiation by avoiding potential losses or costly agreements. Leveraging alternatives. Avoidance can also be a way to leverage alternatives and increase bargaining power by signaling that other options are available.